Welcome back, tribe. I know, so soon? Another video so soon after the last one? What? Yeah, well, I've just been feeling particularly creative this week, or this month rather, and I kind of want to catch up to doing at least 2 or 3 videos a month, so I figure I'll try to release them on like every Friday, but again, only 2 or 3 a month, so it's not going to be every Friday throughout the month, but I'm trying. I am trying. And today you finally get to see my 2022 look. I don't know, I've been digging the red hair a lot lately, so I know the last time y'all saw me it was kind of leaning towards pink. Unfortunately, red doesn't like to stay in my hair, it just visits for a while. So, hi, hello, my name is Michelle, this is my tribe, which again consists of me, the village idiot, and all of you, lovely people. Thank you guys so much for the love and support on my first video of the year, I really appreciated it. I'm hoping I don't end up with lipstick on my teeth throughout the video, so sorry if I do. So I have made the epic decision to formally do a year-long venture of horror. And I know a lot of you are probably like, Michelle, you live horror every day. Like, we're always reading or watching something in the horror genre. But this year, I specifically want to mark out things off of my movie bucket lists, things off my book bucket lists when it comes to horror specifically. So I am officially declaring 2022 a year of horror. Now, as far as movies, TV shows, stuff like that, each month I am going to designate a specific subgenre within horror to dedicate that to. I would do the same thing with my reading lists, but I already have my 2022 TBR kind of mapped out the way I want it, and knowing myself, I can't really stick with reading a similar topic back to back to back without getting severely burnt out and then ending up putting the books down and not touching them for months. So I'm gonna leave my TBR kind of all over the place and scattered. I do tend to like the idea of reading like wintry horror books in winter and summery horror books in summer and things like that. So for January specifically, I have, declared this month the month of winter horror movies. Now it just so happens that I am also reading a horror, I say horror with the air quotes because it hasn't really seemed like a horror book yet. And the book I'm talking about is The Abominable by Dan Simmons. This is the first Dan Simmons book I have ever read, and according to the introduction, it's not really a Dan Simmons book, but it kind of is. So I'm reading this book for January. It's one that I'm kind of sort of through. And I am going to talk about a few horror novels that I would like to read during winter time. So if I don't get to them this winter season, they're going to be on my TBR for next winter season. So far, I am really enjoying this book. I'm almost 200 pages in. But like I said, so far it's reading more like a period piece, more of an adventure piece rather than horror. So no horror yet, but this sucker is over 600 pages, so we'll see if it gets there. But anyway, let's dive into the movies first because I talk enough about books on this channel as it is. So each month I'm going to be giving you a rundown of 5, count them, 5 horror movies that are in that category that I absolutely love. These are horror movies that I rate 3 and up in a 5-star rating. I love them. I usually watch them when I'm just feeling in the mood for these particular categories. So with January being a winter horror movie month, I started it off with 30 Days of Night. I love 30 Days of Night. I had no idea that it was also a graphic novel when I went to see the movie. Found that out. The graphic novel is awesome. I used to have it. I don't know what happened to my copy of it. It might be in storage. I don't know. But the graphic novel is beautiful. The movie is phenomenal. And I know y'all get so tired of hearing me say phenomenal, but it really is. After kind of hitting a wall in vampire-specific horror, especially with movies and TV shows, I just got so over it. There was a point in my life where I was so done with vampires to the point that I am now done with zombies, because I'm just so over zombies. They're so overdone. The last movie that was zombie related that I had any kind of love for was Train to Busan. And that's been out for a hot minute now. But I digress. 30 Days of Night came out all the way back in 2007, and I have loved it and practically rewatched it every year around winter time since then. 30 Days of Night is one of my all-time, if not my all-time favorite vampire horror movie, because it is legitimately horror. There's so many vampire movies and TV shows out now that are nowhere near the realm of horror that like disgust me and sicken me. Like, I get it, okay, monster fucking is a thing. I get it. I know. I read fantasy smut. I get it. I understand. I'm okay with it. I hate the over-romanticization, if that's even a word, of vampires. I want the vampires with shark teeth. I want the blood and the gore and the ripping throats out. I want the violence. Like, Interview with a Vampire was great because you kind of had that sexy, lustful vampire, but you also knew the entire time that that fucker was going to rip your head off if it so desires. So there was, you know, a nice combo of romance, but also a little bit of horror. A little bit. Still wouldn't classify it as a horror movie. But 30 Days of Night took vampires to where I want it to be. 30 Days of Night is just mwah, mwah, beautiful. I love it. And in fact, the scenery, the cinematography, if that's the right word that I'm thinking of just like the pale white background, the mood lighting, which was basically, you know, night, 90% of the movie. But it was beautiful with the blood splatters. I know I sound like Dexter right now, but it was gorgeous. The cinematography was absolutely gorgeous in that film. You can't deny that. And honestly, the acting and the cast was wonderful too. I enjoyed the entire movie from start to finish. And this movie does not take long to get going. I think the one thing that the movie doesn't have that the graphic novel has is that, like, the graphic novel really points out the fact that they are stuck for an entire month. You know, the movie feels like, oh, it's just a couple of days and all of a sudden the sun's coming up. Well, I thought you said it lasted this way for a whole month. In the movie, you don't get that full-blown struggle of like finding food and keeping everyone warm that they had to go through for the entire month, but you don't really need it. Let's move on to the second winter horror movie that I've watched already this month, which is The Shining. Duh, obviously. And obviously I can recommend The Shining book by Stephen King as well. I still have not read The Shining. I was planning to this winter, but I honestly think I'm going to push it off until next winter because it wasn't that long ago that I read it. And I like to space my Stephen King out a little bit because he is a wonderful writer. A lot of his older works are just beautiful, but they're also huge. And I would like to just kind of get a taste of some authors that I didn't get a chance to read last year, this year. So that will probably be next winter that I actually sit down and read The Shining. But The Shining film, The Shining was released in 1980, I believe. I think I have that right. Honestly, I just did a quick Google search for the release date and it said 1980, so we're gonna roll with it. Jack Nicholson is the perfect leading man to that shit show of a movie. He just like he has resting asshole face, which is beautiful. Like, I love it. I love his sarcasm. I love seeing him lose his shit. He plays crazy very well, a little too well. But for me, The Shining is more of like a slow burn psychological horror, but it's so like once winter hits during the movie, because it doesn't start out immediately with like all the snow and the white out and the blizzard and stuff like that, but towards the middle of the movie and the end, you get these beautiful mountain scenes with the snow and like the maze at the end with like the snow covered and the mood lighting. It was really beautiful. So I tend to enjoy The Shining around winter time as well. You definitely get a sense of isolation also, which sometimes winter can create. Those of us in my neck of the woods down in East Texas remember oh so fondly last year during Snowmageddon, and we are so very hopeful that that does not take place again this year, because talk about isolation. Like, I couldn't even get my car out of the apartment complex that I lived in at that time, and having to walk through snow like, you know, the pilgrims, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with that. It was a new experience having lived my entire life in Texas. It was a very new experience. Wasn't all bad, but wasn't good either. Also, I don't think I even mentioned it for 30 Days of Night, but I ranked each one of these 5 movies that I'm going to talk to you guys about today on a 5-star scale. So like with 30 Days of Night, easy 4 out of 5 for me. And maybe I am a little lenient with ratings. I mean, I probably am. I'm a little more critical when it comes to books rather than movies. But like 30 Days of Night, solid 4 out of 5 for me. Solid. The Shining, I also felt was a solid 4 out of 5. It's just different. Like for me, both of those movies were equally enjoyable. It's just one is more of a psychological slow burn, and the other is action-packed vampire gore gloriousness. The next movie I'm going to talk to you guys about severely disturbed me as a child, as an adult, when the remake came out. I am talking about none other than The Thing. Now, from what I've heard other YouTubers say, The Thing, the concept of the movie, actually comes from either a novel or a novella called Who Goes There by John Campbell. Again, if I have any of those facts wrong, feel free to correct me down in the comments. I've never read that story, so I don't really know if that's true. But the first version of The Thing that I saw was the one that was released in 1982. That shit terrified me. I don't think I was technically old enough to really be okay watching The Shining or The Thing at the age that I watched them, but I did, and I'm okay with it. So for those of you who may not have seen The Thing, total isolation horror at its best. It's basically a group of scientists go to Antarctica, right? Yes. I don't even remember what they're doing in Antarctica because it has been a hot minute since I've seen this film. I did not watch it this month, not yet. I probably will rewatch it at some point. It's one of those movies that really fucked me up in the head. I also could easily have put this movie in the body horror month, but that's not until way later this year. Complete body horror, but honestly, the fact that it's taking place in Antarctica, there are very specific scenes with having to deal with the cold and fighting the elements alongside kind of trying to survive the alien thing. Honestly, I'm not going to tell you that much about The Thing because I myself don't remember that much about the movie. I gave it a solid like 3.5 out of 5 stars. It deserves better. Like I remember watching the 2011 remake, and it was great. It wasn't necessarily an exact remake of the 1982 one, but it was really good. It was still very thoroughly disturbed me. But it was good. I know a lot of people have ranked it a lot higher in the 5-star system, but because it disturbed me so point to where it like puts me off of ever wanting to watch it again, I kind of lowered it a little bit, which isn't fair. I know it's not fair. Like if we're talking about just the horror aspect itself, for me personally, that movie's probably a 5 out of 5 because it speaks directly to what scares me, like me personally. So like if body horror doesn't intimidate you at all, if like parasitic type situations don't fuck with your head like they do mine, you'll be fine. You'll be able to rewatch this and have fun with it. But that shit sits with me, gives me nightmares for weeks on end, and I just don't want to do that to myself again. The next movie I want to talk to you guys about actually came out in 2020. I watched it with my friend's show like not long after it first came out. I remember that much. And honestly, it was so fucking funny. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some key horror elements to it that are pretty cool. Like, the gore is pretty good I would say. But the storyline and the acting itself are awesome. I love it so much. And that is The Wolf of Snow Hollow. The lead actor, I don't even remember his fucking name. I'll Google it and put it down here. And I'll also put a shot of the poster up here as well. The lead actor in that movie was like so sarcastic, so amazing. It felt authentic. It felt like real authentic acting. It felt like he was being himself while filming the movie. Which I always love that. I always love being able to watch movies and really enjoy it. Like, enjoy the person's sense of humor. Enjoy just like every little aspect of it. I really enjoyed that movie. It did not end in a way that I thought it was gonna end. Not at all. But it was good. Like, it was really good. It was fresh. I know the werewolf, you know, creature feature type movie has been very played out over the years, but this movie was very fresh. It was obviously very wintry. So, I mean, check it out if you want to. I believe it's streaming on like Amazon Prime and stuff like that, although you probably will have to pay to rent it. I think even with a Prime membership. So just be prepared, but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. The last wintry horror movie, again, I'm gonna say horror loosely, that I want to talk to you guys about, that I literally watch every winter, you guys might think I'm an idiot, is Alien vs. Predator. Look, I know a lot of you are going to be like, bitch, that's not a horror movie. Like, yeah, the winter element I get because, again, it takes place, I think in Antarctica, if not Alaska. Pretty sure it's Antarctica or Alaska. One of them. I don't know. But there is a sense of isolation for sure. Actually, I think it is Alaska. Fuck, I don't know. Obviously, I don't, like, read and research things before filming. No, why would I do that? But I love this movie. When this movie first came out, when did it come out? 2004. This movie came out a long ass time ago. That was before I even graduated high school. So yeah, this movie's kind of old. But honestly, the graphics, the effects, the special effects, the makeups, everything like that were really good for an early 2000s film. They were really good. I was impressed. I was super thrilled that they were finally combining the Alien franchise and the Predator franchise, because I have a very, I put the Alien franchise in very high regard. I have a lot of respect for it. It's not my thing. If you know why. It's not my thing. I've still seen like Alien 1, Alien 2. I saw Prometheus. That was a mistake. I did not see Alien Covenant. I saw Alien Resurrection. Anyway, but the Predator franchise is my main fucking squeeze. I have loved and adored the Predator franchise since day one. Since the first movie all the way up until the most recent movie. And I hear that a prequel called Prey is coming out either this year or next year. So I am super excited for that. But when they finally decided to kind of combine that, it was as awesome as Freddy vs. Jason for me, you guys. Like, I was so fucking thrilled that they were finally combining these two, and humans were just kind of the catalysts for the inevitable. But I loved that film. The storyline was believable. They had some familiar faces involved from like the Alien franchise, and the acting was pretty damn good. For me, the horror element comes into play when you think about that isolation horror. You think about the parasitic side, because I'm sorry, I will always classify any of those goddamn alien movies in sci-fi horror for me specifically, because parasites scare me so fucking bad. The face huggers, chest bursters, I don't know who is responsible for creating these fucking pieces of shit, but they were speaking directly to my subconscious, and I have had many, many nightmares about these creatures throughout my lifetime. So the horror element yeah, it's very loose for that movie. It's like kind of like more of a sci-fi horror, kind of an action-y thing. But I really enjoy it, you guys. Like, I love that. I watch that movie practically every winter because it gives me winter vibes. And it's just good. It's just a good fucking movie. Now, I did only rate it about a 3 because with any Predator movie, with any Alien movie, really, there is kind of I don't know what to say. It kind of like a, you know what, actually I would rate it a 3.5 at the very least, because it is, that one specifically, the acting was above par, honestly, for most of like the Predator movies and Alien movies, so it was really good. I liked it. I liked the storyline. Honestly, they dropped the fucking ball with AVP 2. I watched that movie one time and now I act like it doesn't exist. AVP 2 is like Jaws 3 or Halloween 3. Those movies don't fucking exist to me because they're that bad and they don't make fucking sense. So, anyway. So those are my 5 recommendations for winter horror movies, and I'm sure you guys have way more. I'm actually like subpar when it comes to being well versed in winter specific horror movies and horror movies in general. Like, I do have a lot of horror movies. There's specific horror movies that I hoard and I love and I rewatch, but honestly this year, because I've declared it a year of horror, I am going to be branching out a lot and trying new things, new movies, new TV shows, all of that good stuff. So for next month, I'm just going to give you a heads up right now. This month was winter horror movies. Next month is specifically serial killer horror movies. I don't know why that fell on February, the month of love, but it's fitting. It's very fitting. So next month, I'm going to be watching a lot of my favorite serial killer horror movies. I'll be giving you guys 5 recommendations for what I feel are the best serial killer horror movies or TV shows. And I want you guys to give me some recommendations. Give me some advice. What are some good winter horror movies and serial killer horror movies that I can check out? And I'm going to be doing a video on my 2022 year of horror each month, and each month I'm going to tell you what the next month's category is going to be so that you guys can give me some recommendations to go watch and I can find some new shit to watch, because why not? So in case this video isn't long enough already, I wanted to end the video with talking to you guys a little bit about the wintry horror books that I have, that I'm currently reading, that I have read, and that I plan to read in the upcoming months. So like I said, I'm already reading The Abominable by Dan Simmons. I'm not going to read the synopsis on it. You can easily Google it. I did not start with The Terror, just simply because The Terror is in storage somewhere right now and I didn't feel like going through 10,000 different book boxes, and I already had this one that I bought a used copy from Half Price Books. So Winter Abominable. I'm assuming a Yeti is gonna present itself here. They've mentioned it slightly, but honestly right now it's reading more like an adventure period fiction piece. So we'll see. Now, one that I have already read that I was recommended to read, what is the channel? Shades of Orange. If you guys have not checked out Shades of Orange yet, please go over there. She is amazing. I find all sorts of fantasy and horror recommendations that I've never heard of on that channel. So go check them out. I will put a link to that channel down below. But this is a fantastic read. It is an anthology. It is a short story collection or anthology. It's called Talk to Me. And I might not be saying that right. That's how she kind of said it. Talk to me. Talk to me. But anyway, it is an anthology of Arctic horror stories. Now, these are short stories written by indigenous people. The Inuit, the, how do you say it? I don't even want, okay. Inuktitut? I am not trying to be disrespectful. I promise you I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just suck at pronouncing anything that is not East Texan. Anyway, So they're like all short story collections, and this is a really short read, you guys. Like, I finished this in just a couple of days. It was awesome. And I like short story collections because you can kind of just pick it up, put it down at your whim. You don't have that pressure of like having to finish the whole story. You can kind of just read stories out of it as you go. So there are some in here that I absolutely love, and there are some in here that I'm just kind of like, it wasn't really my thing. I'm gonna tell you about the ones that I do love, or I'm gonna tell you what they're called rather. You can, if you're interested in things like this, then you can find out for yourself. The first story, The Haunted Blizzard, was amazing. Let me see. Sila or Sila, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. That one was amazing. The Wildest Game. The Wildest Game on page 133 by J. Bulkert. Anyway, that story is written in letter form, and it fucked me up. It fucked me up psychologically. It was beautiful though. I loved it. But yeah, definitely winter vibes for most of these stories. Now, the next 3 are books I haven't read yet, but they're books that I'm planning to read before this winter season is over. First one being The Woman in Black. I love this little copy that I found at like Books A Million. I think it was Books A Million. But anyway, that's definitely coming up soon on my TBR. The next one is Dead of Winter by Keelan Patrick Burke. He is an author that I did not get to experience last year because I delved back into horror and back into reading so late in the year. But I believe this is also a short story collection, but they're all his stories. I believe. It might just be a novella. No, 7 stories by Keelan Patrick Burke. Okay, awesome. And the last one that I am planning on reading before this specific winter season is over is Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell. Now, Jordaline from Jordaline Reads, who I absolutely love, hated this book, but there's a lot of other booktubers. I want to say Gabby from Gabby Reads, who I also love, and I don't remember if Merce from Harpies in the Trees has read this yet or not, but a lot of other booktubers and bookstagrammers are loving this book, so I'm gonna give it a shot. I mean, I already bought it anyway, like I have it, I'm gonna read it. So those are my plans for this winter season. And like I said, with the 2022 year of horror, I'm planning on doing a new category of horror each month, specifically with the movies and TV shows. So if you guys have any recommendations for February, which like I said is gonna be serial killer horror specifically, drop them down in the comments below. If you also have any recommendations or books that you're reading for the winter season that are specifically horror or sci-fi, maybe even fantasy, drop those down in the comments below as well. Be sure to like, subscribe if you enjoy these types of videos, and I will see you guys probably next week. It's either next week or the Friday after that I'll be doing another wrap up. I love you all. Thank you for sitting through my rambling and raving and craziness, and I hope you guys are enjoying the winter season, and keep it creepy, right? Just keep it creepy. Peace.